Alright, so I've been out here, dang it, this thing's always dirty. That's better. Alright, so I've been out in the shop messing with Project Gold Dust here, and I'm kind of all over the place with this thing. It's pretty close to being able to start it up. Obviously, I've got some little stuff to do. I need to start getting the brake booster delete kit put in, and I did have an issue where I got the wrong plate. The guy actually sent me a second version of the plate. Ford offers a couple different bolt patterns, so I got that in yesterday, and now I'm looking for, there's a pin. You have to re-drill this brake pedal and put this pin in, and now I've lost the pin. I have no idea where it is. Disappeared completely. So that's going to slow that down yet again, and I'm going to have to order a new pin. So I'm going to have to call the guy and be like, hey, I'm an idiot, I messed this up. But anyways, I need to get wideband sensor put on the driver's side here. I still got to do a power steering hose. I still got to get a fitting to put the IAT sensor in. I still got to put breather tubes off valve covers. Still got to get an air filter. Still got to wire up a fan relay. Still got to wire up the fuel pump. I mean, it's just, some people just think you drop these in, you just hook a couple wires up and you're good. You know, that's it. No, that's not the case. So, I did get, let me hook this up. I did figure out, I don't remember if I mentioned it, but I had an issue where the truck wouldn't turn over with the ignition switch, and I had jumped the neutral or the clutch switch in hopes that that was the deal. But then I thought about it, I'm like, wait a minute, knowing Ford, they probably run the ignition switch 12 volt that goes out to the starter solenoid through the PCM. There's no PCM in this thing anymore, and no factory wiring harness except for what comes out of the cab, and then the engine harness and stuff that obviously went with the old engine. So I got the voltmeter out and checked continuity on a bunch of wires, found where the wires come into that main connector, cut them, jumped them, and now everything's good. So now you can hop in here. Oh, wasn't supposed to do that. And it turns over. Also, another thing I had to do was I had to wire up my Phytech. This is not ideal. This is not what I wanted to use. I really want a holly box. Can't afford a holly box, so this is what I got. This is leftover from the Boost Knuckles previous setup. So you can see I got a little bit of a wiring mess down there. I did get 12 volts into the Phytech, so now it turns on, which is actually why the truck just tried to start, because there was probably a little bit residual fuel in here because I've been messing with the fuel system, which I still got to wire up the pump. But since I've sent 12 volts to it, it's getting fire now and has actually attempted to start 2 times on its own, and I'm far from being ready for that. So I need to actually unhook the coils so it doesn't do that. But anyways, I'm going to get this up in the air. I need to get the fuel pump wired up. I got to get the shifter mounted permanently, drill a hole, run the shifter cable through the floor. All that's still got to be done. I mean, it's just a mess of everything I got to get done. So I'm going to get back on it. I got the fuel pump wired up, so now you key it on, you can hear the fuel pump kick on. Everything primes. I didn't even look to see what it showed for prime, but I don't have any transmission fluid in this thing. I'm sure there's some other stuff I'm forgetting, but I may just try and fire it off. I'm not going to let it run. I just want to hear it light. It's probably a really bad idea, but I think we should do it. So let me try and fire this up. That didn't sound good. That did not sound good at all. No bueno. Well, we had a little mishap in that trying to crank it and attempt to start it. I'm kind of glad I did that, but then I'm kind of glad I did that, but then I'm kind of wished I hadn't. But I did find an issue in the process. I did find that one of the injectors was stuck, and it was stuck open, and it had filled one of the cylinders up with fuel completely. I had primed the fuel system probably 4 or 5 times, you know, just checking for leaks and key on, messing with the wiring on the Phytech, and I should have undid the fuel system, you know, like a relay or something, and I didn't, and that was stupid. But me thinking like all the injectors were good, which they were, they flowed good, but I just had one of them that stuck apparently and caused problems. I did go back through, I pulled all the plugs out, obviously blew all the fuel out of that one hole, tried to dry it out the best I could. I went through and did a compression test on the whole motor. That one cylinder's down 20 psi, 25 psi currently. I'm hoping it didn't bend a rod. My thought process at this point is just to go ahead and get the truck all buttoned up the way I'm going, you know, in the direction that I'm headed. Just keep plugging along on it, get it buttoned up, because I want to get it fired up and get it heat cycled. My plan is to get it started up, let it heat cycle a couple times, and then I'll go back through, I'll pull all the plugs back out of it, and then check compression again, and hopefully that hole comes around. Hopefully it's just washed out and it's not a bent rod. But anyways, I'm going to swap out some different injectors and keep plugging away on this. I got to put a new transmission pan, trans filter in it, fill up the trans, put a dipstick tube in it, and just a bunch of other, you know, small random stuff just to get it up and running. So I'm going to chip away at that now, and we'll try and get this thing fired up for its first startup. Alright guys, so this is going to be our first startup. It's kind of a rough startup. I've got everything in it, more or less. I'm still missing the power steering hose, but whatever. Put new injectors in it, changed the oil, got a dipstick tube for the transmission, cooler lines are all on it and bolted up, and we should be able to start this up and hopefully hear it run. There's nothing. That was anticlimactic. Alright guys, so for some reason this thing is fighting me like crazy. I don't know what the deal is, but it's really getting aggravating. I've used this Phytech before. This thing is wired up just as it was the last time I used it, and for some reason this thing just does not want to run. I've double checked all my wiring and everything, and it'll start, but it just won't start and run. Like, I've reset the computer, I've done everything, I've redone it all, and it still will not start and stay running. So I don't know what to do. I'm kind of at a loss right now. I mainly just need to get it up and started first. I don't know, maybe my wideband sensors are bad. I don't know. I'm kind of clueless right now, but I'm gonna try and get it started one more time. Maybe I'm gonna work the throttle with this piece of speaker wire because I don't have the throttle cable hooked up. and I've adjusted this throttle open pretty far. It's probably like, honestly, probably like 15% throttle open now, and it still won't even, you know, start. So I'm gonna try and pedal it with this piece of wire. Maybe it'll light off, and maybe we can get it to run. Started. Lots of spitting and sputtering going on over here. Woo! So, I can't breathe. All right, everybody. So, back out here in the shop. It's the next day. Had issues getting it started and running last night. It was acting really weird. I couldn't get it to start and idle smoothly. It had some codes in it for all the injectors on one bank, which was really weird. So I think that was from before, whenever I was messing around with the wiring and stuff. I think I had cranked on it enough that it set codes. But I did get it obviously started and running, but I'm going to actually pull the plugs back out of it since I had that issue with that one hole. I may just pull that one plug out actually and just check the compression on it, and maybe the one next to it, because overall they were all relatively close to one another except for that one hole. So let's pull that one plug out, check that compression, and then we'll check the one next to it. Check number 2 first, and then we'll check number 4. Number 4 was where we had a stuck injector. And they always say to crack the throttle open when doing a compression test. Let's set this down here so it doesn't fall and break anything. I'll just wedge that in there. We'll crank it and see what it does. Should be like 195, 190-ish. Yeah, 185. It's probably a little lower than normal since it's so rich. It's probably got a bunch of fuel. Have a bunch of fuel that didn't get burnt sitting inside there. Yeah, about 190. Where it was before, pretty much. Yeah, 190. I checked it wet once on that hole and it went from 190 to 200. So let's check number 4 and fingers crossed it came up a little. So I really hope this thing doesn't have a bent rod. Luckily when it hydrolocked, it was just me cranking on it. You know, it's not like it was running and pushed the head gasket and then hydrolocked or something like that, because that's when you'll really bend rods and such. 190. Yes. Yes. We'll do it one more time. Just see if it repeats itself. Yes. That's awesome news. I'm so pumped. Heck yes. Yes. Oh man, that makes me feel so much better. I love this little motor. I didn't want something to happen to it. This little engine has been so good to me. Plug these coils in. Relays back in. We'll throw the plugs back in it and try and start it up and see if it'll start and idle on its own. Because last night I had to I actually had a piece of speaker wire hooked to it, you know, revving it up, and it wanted nothing to do with me. Got everything hooked back up. We're going to try and start this thing up and see if it'll start and idle on its own. Fingers crossed. Oh, oh. Come on, girl. This thing fights me. So, I think I found out, sorry my eyes are watering, the gas fumes in here are pretty out of control. I think I found out why it won't, good grief. Woo! Open this up, that thing was running rich, about to fog me out. Probably should have put my mask on this morning. Ooh. But, anyways, so, the idle adjust screw was backing off, so then that's why I kept giving it gas, and then like it more and more just kept having to give it more gas and give it more gas because it didn't know what to do with the fact that the throttle wasn't opened. But let's see if it'll start up now. Still idling a little high. Yeah, it's showing 1,050. I really wanted to be around 850, but I might have to do some tuning for that. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. Keep following along. We'll see you guys later.